Welcome back to Right Answers Mostly, a podcast on what you didn't learn in history class.
But you really wanted to.
You really wanted to. Actually, you may have learned about this one in history class.
Yeah, I didn't.
I don't remember.
I'm like, what did I learn in history?
I was literally talking about this last night with Kunal, because obviously we're going to be talking about the Civil War today. And I was like, I don't remember learning about the Civil War, which is insane. I know we did. I don't remember what grade.
Same. I remember my civics class kind of because my civics teacher said some really awful things and should be fired.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Should I say it?
Say
my
it.
civics teacher in Arkansas, it said that if we allow gay people to get married, then they're going to start letting animals and humans get married.
You told me this before. I blacked it out.
Yeah, I mean, I remember sitting there and be like,
actual fuck?
Yeah, and be like, well, that can't be right.
You're like,
what? Insane.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is why I come
Jail.
to this pod. But like actually jail.
Rotten hell.
Rotten hell. I forgot what his name was. He was like a football coach or something. And there it is.
Classic.
Yeah. So anyways,
That's all we're
going to bring different vibes to you today. Tess has feared this. Literally, we were sitting here for like 30 minutes before, and she's like, wait, let me take a picture of you. Let me do this. And she's like, I'm doing everything I can not to start this episode.
I was procrastinating. I really procrastinated research because I started this like 6 months ago when I watched Manhunt on Apple TV.
I still need to watch.
It's very good. It's about the story of John Wilkes Booth from his perspective.
Which, if you guys didn't know from the title, that's who we're talking about today.
John Wilkes Booth and a little bit of Abe Lincoln. Lincoln.
Little Abe.
And I can't really decide like what this is about because it's about the assassination and it's about John and it's about like a little bit of just like what was going on at the time.
It's all encompassing.
So it's all just that. Shout out to our Rami Andrea, I think, who wanted us to talk about this. This one's for you.
Thanks, Andrea.
Thanks, Andrea. And it's a doozy, so I feel like we should just kind of get into it.
Okay, it sounds great.
Okay, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
like
so okay with that.
Whew, it's going to be...
I can't wait. I'm drinking a Diet Coke, y'all. It's Spotify Wrapped just came out today. So we're just flying on high vibes.
Thank you to everyone who, first of all, listens, and then everyone who posted us today to their story. I mean, it's just crazy to see like that we are, 3,000 people's top podcast where we used to be 300 people's top podcast.
It's actually unbelievable. And it is the greatest joy of my life being able to do this podcast. And so thank you.
Yeah. And like we literally could not do without you guys.
No,
like,
we really couldn't.
You guys are the people that keep the wheels greased. What's the expression?
I think that works. And also I feel like it was this year that we like really got close to the Rammies.
Yeah, I feel like such a connection.
Me too.
Always with you guys. But I think we had like kind of the OG Rammies that we talked to a lot. Now I feel like we just like talk to so many more people.
The army's getting bigger.
Like you guys sending us like screenshots of Hinge that you're talking about us, your drunken voice notes, all of it is just incredible.
The fact that we're getting talked about on Hinge is unbelievable to me. We are spreading the word to the straight men.
We really are. And they never thought that they'd be here. They never thought they'd come.
But here they are.
But they always do.
We always haunt them, don't we?
We really do.
Yeah.
We really do. So you guys are just so sweet.
We love you.
Thank you for all of the support. Yeah, we're going to be having a week celebrating, which we can probably talk about next week, right?
Yeah, we're going to Spotify Wraps party tomorrow night, you guys, and we are ready to get up there and shake that thing.
Yes, there's going to be some fun surprises that we'll share with you. We'll put on the stories.
Yeah.
We're getting spray tans. We're going to Dry Bar.
That's right. So follow us at Right Answers Mostly if you want to follow along to our glam journey.
Always.
And the party.
Always. Okay, Claire, so let's get into it. So we're going to be talking about the assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
Wow.
And who did it to him?
John Wilkes Booth.
Johnny Boy.
Oh, Johnny Boy. Can I say something?
Say it.
I saw a TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
I saw a TikTok, and take this as you will. This is what the TikTok said.
Oh,
they were
God.
like, we could really use John Wilkes Booth right now. In January. That's what the TikTok said.
I mean,
I'm gonna leave that there.
It's sad when you're looking at these stories of, Abraham Lincoln was on the right side of history, trying to
100%.
do the right goddamn thing. And then this crazy Confederate loser.
Okay, so he is a crazy Confederate loser.
Truly.
Who was kind of hot.
Oh, you were attracted to him?
Well, that was what the TikTok, I saw it and I was like, I shouldn't say this.
It's okay. I think that I think people agree with you. I sent a picture of him last night to Alice and she was like, God, sad eyes and a mustache that gets me every time. I mean, he did have sad eyes and
a mustache. I was literally just talking about this with my cousin Katie, about a man with sad eyes that I know. And I was like, we love sad eyes around here.
Well, we'll get into perhaps why people thought he was hot too. Okay, we'll talk about it all.
Okay.
My sources for today, we have 3. We have a podcast called Infamous America. It's a 7-part series about John and what happened.
Okay.
We have Wikipedia and we have history.com. So we kept it very OG Ram. We
Nuclear.
kept it clean.
Our nuclear family.
Nuclear.
Well, kind of. Because our stepfather, we don't know where our dad is.
No, and we never will.
And we never will, and we don't want to.
No, and that's all we need to say about that.
Join premium for more.
Exactly, $7.99. Okay, so Claire, on April 14th, 1985, not 1985.
But you
1885.
right answers mostly.
Of course, that's how I start the episode. Okay, April 14th, 1885. Thank God we're not in Taurus season quite yet.
No, we are still in Aries season.
Which kind of makes sense.
It's a fire.
No one knows what's happening during Aries season. Yeah. The 16th president of the United States was assassinated while attending the play Our American Cousin at Ford Theater in D.C.
I've been there.
Oh, that's
we'll
right.
post on the carousel. I went there with my aunt. I took a DC trip with my aunts, which was so fun.
So fun.
Just me and the girlies, and we went to the Ford Theater.
How ram of you.
I know.
I've never been, but I've never been to DC. And
we have got to do a DC trip.
I know.
And go to like what is it called? The mall, the National Mall, but it's all museums. It's not an actual mall. I'm sure you could shop there.
I'm dying to go to DC. I
Same.
mean, it was perhaps a plan to go, and Kanal was going to take me to the inauguration.
Oh, yeah, we are not going to this inauguration.
And we are absolutely not going to this.
Inauguration can rot in hell.
Maybe I'll go in 4 years.
Yeah, we'll write it off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, guys, we had the Civil War.
Yeah.
Civil War, the Union versus the Confederacy, right? The core of the war was whether slavery should expand to Western states. Lincoln was president.
Do you hear that? Because there are some schools trying to say that that's not what the Civil War was about.
You guys, there's no other option of what it could be.
Shove it.
Shove it. If that's what you're thinking, shove it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Lincoln was very much against slavery. And he was on the right side of history, and he was trying to do the right thing.
There's also a documentary, sorry, I'm going to stop taking us on these tangents, but about Lincoln possibly being a queer king.
Oh, I've heard that rumor before, too.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense when you think about him and Mary's relationship.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
There's a Broadway play called Oh, Mary, I think, right? I'm dying
That's the one that I wanted to see, yes.
Maybe we can go to New York in January?
We need to, because we have things to do in New York.
That's true.
We have business there, you guys.
I digress. I hope that's the case.
I could see it. He was a sweet soul, I think.
I think so, too.
You know, I mean, always during this time, you never really know. But he was trying to do the right thing.
And we appreciate that.
So, the war is long. The Civil War is a brutal 4 years.
Can you imagine?
Do you know how many people died during the Civil War?
A lot.
600,000 people died.
Do you know what side? Well, I guess the Confederate side died. More people died.
Yeah, but it was pretty split. I mean, it was brutal. It was gruesome. There was 1 million. What's it called when you don't die, but you're severely casualties. So it was gross.
It was so gross.
It was just a really dark time in this country.
Yeah.
The darkest.
And just happening on the homelands, on the front lands.
It's what's the quote that's father versus father, son versus son.
Wow.
House divided cannot stand.
Oh, wow. But hey, it needed to fall for a little bit. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So on April 3rd in Richmond, Virginia, the Confederate capital fell to the Union Army. And on April 9th, General Robert E. Lee and his Army of Northern Virginia surrendered to General Ulysses S. Grant and his Army of the Potomac?
Potomac.
Real Housewives Potomac. Okay, that's what I thought. But then I was like, what if it's different than Housewives?
No, our ladies were
okay,
there.
They're we know. After the Battle of Appomattox.
Okay. Appomattox.
Sounds like
Appomattox.
So guys, the Confederates are all right, we're out. And you guys won.
Yeah, losery. They were losery.
I
think there's an amazing documentary about Grant. He'd be a great Ram subject
one day.
Oh, that's
so true.
I think he went on to be a president. He did.
Oh, yeah, for but not all.
I don't know.
4 years.
This isn't a Grant podcast.
No, and you guys can help us out a little bit with some of the missing pieces of this episode. So, by the end of the war, obviously much of the South's infrastructure was destroyed, the Confederacy collapsed, slavery was abolished, and 4 million enslaved black people were free. And what was to come was the war-torn nation entered the Reconstruction era.
Yeah.
In an attempt to rebuild the country, bring the former Confederate states back into the United States, and grant civil rights to freed slaves. So that's like when the war ends on April 3rd, that's like the plan. Like Lincoln's like, all right, this is what we got to do. This is what I see in the future. Done, done, done.
And it was like great things like putting schools in places. We talked about this on our Madam C.J. Walker episode.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yes, it was just like, okay, now how do we reconstruct this country?
Exactly.
So back to current times. So April 13th, the war is like officially over. There is a celebration in Washington, D.C., unlike anything before. Obviously, like the whole country isn't celebrating, but
Yeah.
D.C. is celebrating. There was fireworks. People put tons of candles in their windowsills. People were singing on the streets. There was music playing. And some people were just like, I've never seen a celebration quite like it.
Oh, stunning.
But someone was not celebrating, Claire.
John.
Someone named a little John Wilkes Booth was not celebrating. And this loser gathered his collection of misfits.
His army of skanks.
His army of skanks to plan the murder of Lincoln to, quote, balance the scale.
Oh, shut up.
I know. So, guys, I'm going to just come out and say it because I think this is shocking and also not shocking at the same time. John was born into a family of prominent stage actors.
The theater kids have entered the chat.
This is literally like where theater kids go wrong. Like, this is where he's also a Nepo baby. He's a Nepo baby and a theater kid because his brothers were like hot and successful.
Theater actors?
Actors.
Wow. I mean, yes, I just think that this family might have had some good looking people. And that doesn't mean you're a good person. I think I just had to acknowledge it.
Well, so in my research, a lot of sources say that he was known for being handsome, but known for being kind of like a mid actor.
Hey.
Whereas his brothers were less hot than him, but better actors.
Wow. Looks can take you far. But did it take him far in his craft?
It did not, Claire.
Okay.
He was kind of like, I didn't even come up with a comparison during research. He was like, oh, say it.
Not Liam Neeson.
Liam Hemsworth?
Liam Hemsworth. But his brother is hotter than him.
But like kind of though, it's like, all right, well, a lot of people, I know that is always a controversy of which Hemsworth brother's the hottest.
Yeah.
I mean, Liam is a good looking man, but God, he cannot act. I just watched that stupid Netflix movie he's in with
I'm
Laura.
like, where even is he?
Yeah, unclear.
Some Chris Hemsworth, I'm like, sometimes less is more.
Less is more.
And he's more is more. You know what I'm saying?
I understand. It's a lot. It's a lot of man.
It's a lot of man.
It's a lot of man. So he's just kind of like, everyone's like, God, you're hot, but you can't really act. But he is cast in quite a bit of stuff because of his family. So his older brothers were pretty successful.
All in the DC area?
They were in Maryland, I believe. But they would go to DC to perform a lot because that's where it was like, that's where you want to go.
That's the city.
It was like Hollywood, baby, for the stage on the East Coast.
Wow.
Also want to mention that, can you guess his astrological sign?
Okay. Yes. Well, I have 3. Oh, God. Okay.
What does your gut tell you?
My God. I don't think it's Aquarius.
No.
I'm going to... It's not Cancer.
No.
Is it Sagittarius?
No.
Aries?
Claire, he's a Taurus.
Oh my God. I was like, don't say Virgo.
No, he is a Taurus, which like, God, it kind of makes sense in a lot of ways. Like so stubborn. So like, this is my way. Very steadfast in your beliefs. Creative.
Was that really hard for you to take on?
I had a feeling he was. Like even at the beginning, I was like, fuck, he's a Taurus.
What's Abe Lincoln? Do you know?
I actually don't know.
Libra, Justice King.
Oh, I could see that.
Yeah.
So what is interesting about this whole story is that, as I mentioned, he performed in DC a lot, and he actually performed at the Ford Theater quite a bit. So he knew the map, he knew the entrances, he knew how to get in, get out, and he was familiar with the staff there. So they trusted him.
Oh, so if they saw him walking through,
Yeah, they're like, sure, go
yeah.
backstage. Like, you're our guy. You're here all the time.
Yikes.
So, another little fun fact about this man, he was an outspoken Confederate sympathizer and also a spy and a smuggler.
Gross.
So, for most of his adult life, he was like, you know what? I want to kidnap Lincoln. And that's like what he'd tell everyone. He was like,
How tall was he?
he was a short king,
Okay.
but not a king.
Sweetheart, you know what? Lincoln's tried kidnapping that tall man.
He's just going to kick you.
Yeah, truly. Flick you.
And then I...
Geeker, sir. That's like the only impression I can do in my life.
No, that is not true, Claire.
What's his name? Like Bach or Bark? You guys know the bat from Anastasia.
Yeah,
What a
that's
cutie.
that's literally John. So he always had these plans. He's like, I'm going to ambush him on the road because like I'm following him. But then Lincoln would like decide to stay home one night, and he was like, fuck, we didn't get it this time. So he was like intense about it.
Okay, also he's like, I guess security was just so different, but I'm like, he's already way too close if he's like knowing his whereabouts.
We'll talk about security because it is just like, wow, it's different than it is now, obviously. The most losery thing ever was that in late 1860, he was initiated in the pro-Confederate like club called Knights of the Golden Circle in Baltimore, Maryland. And I wanted to ask you.
Knights, Knights.
Yes.
You guys.
What would be the most shocking thing besides a pro-Confederate group to find out that someone you were dating was in, like a club?
I mean, there's been a few already in my dating.
I know. What would be toughest for you?
Toughest? Probably, honestly, like a Christian religious group.
Oh, yeah.
That, yeah. Or
Yeah.
martial arts.
That can be...
Magicians.
I said, I'm going to say any sort of magician group is number 2.
Magician groups that's a tough thing to
Yeah.
do.
And like, if that's your journey, that's fine. But
And a magic trick is nice every once in a while, but to be in a club,
every once in a while,
every once in a while.
that's all we're going to say. So his friends also, like he had a lot of guy friends that were like, dude, we feel the same way. Like Lincoln needs to go. And he had this friend named John Surratt. And his mom was like, I was like, was she attracted to him or she had a crush on him or something? Because his friend's mom was like, I'm going to do anything that you need me to do to like help with the murder of Lincoln. She was like, I'm going to actually buy a house in DC and I'll like be there on and off that you can stay in so that you can be close to him to make the assassination go to plan.
Oh my God.
And she was like, I'll like buy some guns there that we can like store. I feel like she was like into him.
Sweetheart. Cool it a little bit.
So, I mean, everyone just like supported him in this. Like this man had never known struggle.
How old is he at this point?
I think so. He was born in 1838.
Okay, so like he's in his 30s.
He's in his 30s.
Okay.
So yeah, this man had never known a life of people telling him no.
There's a lot of them out there.
But he feels like he had because of his...
Because he didn't get the role once.
Because he literally didn't get roles like his brother. So just keep that in mind for this whole thing, you guys.
Oh, God.
Because it's crazy. So you know what's really sad is that Lincoln was like, I am actually a fan of Booth's work.
What?
He was like, I've seen him in some plays. I think he's good. I think he's great. And Lincoln was like the only one that actually was like, what's everyone talking about? Why is people talking shit?
He was his advocate for the arts.
He was his advocate.
Wow.
He was like, everyone lay off of him. He even invited him to he invited him to the White House.
What?
He was like, he's a prominent actor here. Like he should come just
Okay,
like
so
other
he
celebrities.
is in these circles. He's not just this random guy.
He is literally like a famous actor who has never won an Oscar type of thing. And who people are like, oh, like he's just got that. Interesting. So, John actually attended Lincoln's second inauguration on March 4th, 1865, writing in his diary. He loves his diary.
Of course.
What an excellent chance I had, if I had wished, to kill the president on Inauguration Day.
You're sick.
Like, not to shame anyone's personal diary, but it's so, like, he's obsessed with him.
Maybe he's in love with him.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe trying to get some sexual frustration out.
Also, like the role of the lifetime is the presidency.
Wow.
You know?
Damn.
Not a role I'd want, but.
No, I was just talking about this the other day. Like, people that really want to be president, like, you have to be a little crazy.
No, I think there's something going on there.
It's mental instability.
Both sides.
Of course. Like, that's just such a...
Who would ask for that?
Exactly.
And it's whatever. I know you could say like because it's for people who want to change the world,
But it's usually not.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Usually not. Okay, so then jumping ahead, a few weeks later after his second inauguration, on March 17th, John and his other conspirators planned to abduct Lincoln as he returned from another play at Campbell General Hospital in Northwest Washington. But then Lincoln didn't go last minute because he just like wasn't in the mood. And John had like he was living at a hotel to be close to him at that point.
To being close
To you, throw the trigger
on
on the gun.
gun.
Is that about assassination?
Did Gracie Abrams write that from the perspective of John Wilkes
Wow,
Booth?
maybe.
Put that on the
I
carousel.
have to. That's going to be the song. It's going to be the song. Okay, I need to remember. That is crazy. The trigger on the gun.
Gave you when we met.
I wanna be close to you. Just keep singing it.
Wow, we're stunning.
We were stunning. So, what were his motives?
Racism.
Yeah, truly. In a letter to his mother, he wrote of his desire to avenge the South. He was extremely racist. And his rivalry with his well-known older brother, actor Edwin Booth, who was a loyal Unionist.
So Edwin's a king.
Yes, and he's like, I just want to be different than you, and I don't want you to win this war. Like, it's like a war between brothers.
Oh, wow.
And artists.
Wow. Oh, well, they can get messy.
They really can. They really can. So, on April 11th, John attended Lincoln's last speech. Because he's just always trying to be like, what's he?
He's there. Wait, question about the family. Maybe,
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but like, do you know where his parents sat? Because it's so interesting, always with siblings. Like, look at RFK Jr. right now. Like, what a whack job. But his family is so different than him. It's like, how can you grow up in the same home?
I do not know for a fact. I want to say that they were all Union.
Okay. And then John Wilkes Booth.
Yeah,
is
I
the
think
one
he
that
was
goes
just this
off.
like crazy kid.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You guys can fact check that for me, please. Thank you.
Do your homework.
So, yeah, he attends Lincoln's last speech in which Lincoln promoted voting rights for slaves. And John wrote in his journal, that means N-word citizenship. This is going to be the last speech he will ever give. So this speech really inspired him to do the deed. He was just like at his wit's end, and he was like, I cannot stand this country. We can't do this. And so that's really what ramped up the whole plan.
Trash.
Truly trash.
Yeah.
So enraged, John urged his friend and ex-Confederate soldier Lewis Powell to shoot Lincoln on the spot during the speech, because I guess he just had a gun with him at the speech.
We had like small revolvers at this time, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not
Like the muskets.
Yeah. What's it called now? Like what's like the
Assault.
ones that go like really fast?
Oh, it's like a assault rifle, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Machine gun?
They were like the little
revolver.
I was like, Revolve? Clothing company? So he was with his friend Lewis, and he was like, shoot him right now. And he was like, I don't think I'm like going to be able to get the shot. So he literally like forced him. They obviously didn't end up doing it, but he wanted him to kill him right then and there.
They were at the speech?
They were at the speech.
It's so scary.
So Lincoln, which is very interesting, had a premonition this night. I'm like, he seemed like almost like an astrology girly.
Like, is he a Pisces?
God, I don't know, but perhaps. So this was 3 days before his death. Lincoln said he had a dream, which he wandered the White House, searching for the source of mournful sounds. He said, I kept on until I arrived at the East Room, which I entered. There I was met with a sickening surprise. Before me was a catafalque. I think it's a
Explain, Abe.
I think a catafalque is a coffin.
Oh.
On which rested a corpse wrapped in funeral vestments. Around it were stationed soldiers who were acting as guards, and there was a throng of people gazing mournfully upon the corpse, whose face was covered, others weeping pitifully. Who is dead in the White House? I demanded of one of the soldiers. The president was his answer. He was killed by an assassin. So he truly predicted that this was going to happen to him. And then there's some historians that were like, that was never like fully 100% confirmed if he had this dream, but other people said it was. And
where's that quote from? I wonder.
He told his this man Ward Hill Lamon, who I think worked for him.
That's actually crazy.
I know.
I also wonder if had a president been assassinated yet?
No, he was the first, right? Because
I think so.
He was the first, and then after him was
I would.
there was someone in between him and JFK.
Yeah, I think so.
A couple. Yeah.
Yeah.
There was that random guy.
Yeah, there's a random guy, and then JFK, obviously. And then there's been attempts. Like, there was an attempt on Ford. Listen to our Betty Ford episode. But, like, yeah, I mean, he was 16, so you would hope that there wasn't.
Yeah. And this was just such a polarizing time, obviously.
Exactly.
And tensions were so high.
So that's why I'm wondering if he's, like, was scared for his life.
I think he was.
I mean, clearly he was. He's having dreams
Oh,
like that.
I'm sure. I'm sure he's like, I don't trust half this country. And, you know, the man was tired. The war was long. Everyone kept saying how gross and haggard he looked.
Oh,
and
that's
he's like,
just
give me.
cruel.
He's like, I'm just trying to get rights for people.
Literally, sue me.
Yeah, sorry, I've like lost a little bit of weight and my cheeks have sunk in. Like, so Lincoln was pale, which I was like, okay, you guys.
God,
I kept
they
talking about his
always,
physical
like,
appearance.
pale shame people. I mean, I say as someone who just got spray tan, but like, please.
He was a very pale man, though.
Yeah,
like
well.
super pale.
He doesn't have time to lay out.
Huh?
He doesn't have time to lay
No,
out.
he's just in his office.
Yeah.
He's like trying to do his thing. On the morning of the assassination, he told people how happy he was. And First Lady Mary Lincoln said, you can't say how happy you are because that's going to bring bad luck. She's almost like, everything is so scary right now. Like, let's keep it all just very like, let's try to just stay neutral until like we can exhale. Like, can you just imagine how scared they must have been?
Yeah.
Like for all of like the, you know, the consequences.
Definitely. And it's
the
sad that they
Confederacy.
can't celebrate the amazing thing that they did.
I know. Some things change and some things just stay the same in this country.
It's so true. And it's so disappointing.
It is. So the morning of the killing, it's April 14th, and John's morning actually started at midnight. He wrote his mother that all was well, but that he was in haste in his diary. And he wrote that our cause being almost lost, something divisive and great must be done. It's like his like burn book.
Truly. I also wonder if there was any thing getting back to the White House, being like, there's been some talks.
I don't think so.
Ugh.
I don't think so. I think, and like, we're going to talk about security, but
Yeah.
I think they were just like a little nervous. Like they knew that there'd probably be people on the streets, like some
Yeah.
violence and anger, and they were preparing for the Reconstruction era, and obviously like that they'd have to get votes on that and
Yeah.
stuff. Like they knew that it was going to be a hardship, but I don't think they were like someone is trying to kill you right now.
Right.
Just because, yeah, it wasn't like as much of a thing.
It was, yeah, a different world.
It was a different world. So, John goes to the Ford Theater around noon to pick up his mail. And this is when John learned, I'm like, so I guess his mail was being sent to this theater, which is crazy.
Wow.
Maybe it was fan mail, actually.
Oh my God.
That makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Because
I mean,
people
yeah.
were, I mean, he's like the equivalent to like a heartthrob.
Right.
So this is when John learned that Lincoln and Grant were to visit the theater that evening for a performance of Our American Cousin. And he was like, well.
Oh, God.
He's like, isn't this actually perfect? They're not going to suspect anything's weird that I'm there.
It must be like his two biggest enemies with Grant and Lincoln.
Literally, he's like, ha, ha, ha. And he was like, I know the layout. Everyone's familiar with me. Everyone likes me. Everyone trusts me. So great. This is perfect. So he's like, we're on. And then remember his mom's friend who's like trying to have sex with him?
Yeah.
She's like, I got you. And she's like, I have been storing these guns at the house. So like you can just go get it. Everything's like falling into place. And I actually didn't know that he also had like a whole crew of people. They were all planning to kill a lot of people that night.
Oh, my God.
So let's review the crew. Okay, we have David Harold, who is a nervous man who talked too much, kind of like should I even be doing this? Like, kind of like you're like, you better shut your mouth.
Yeah,
you're
I
gonna
don't
get
know
us-
if you want a nervous man who talks too much on a crew like this.
Exactly. We have Lewis Powell, who is his boy that was brought the gun to the speech.
Oh.
He was very talkative. He was stoic and strong, and he was a former Confederate soldier. And then we had George Altzerdatz, who was a German immigrant who didn't really speak much English, but they were like, we'll use him.
Yeah, it's a body.
It's a body.
Yeah.
So this was not a group of like mastermind criminals.
Oh, you don't say.
So it's like an actor. Like it's tough. So this is what who John wanted to assign everyone to kill. John assigned Lewis Powell. He was like, you're going to kill the Secretary of State, William H. Seward, at his home. And he's like,
C-word?
Seward? So
See you next Tuesday?
Wow. The George, who's a German immigrant, he was like, you're going to kill Vice President Andrew Johnson at the Kirkwood Hotel. And then he was like, David Harrell, you're going to guide Lewis Powell, because Lewis Powell was like a little unfamiliar with Washington, to the Seward house.
the way you just said that, like, how silly of him.
He's like, I don't even know where I am. But it's just like crazy. These are the people that you're like, your army of skanks.
Yeah.
And he was like, so you're going to guide him to the Seaward house and then rendezvous with me in Maryland once I take off on a horse and kill him and then like leave and try to go to safety somewhere.
And he's like, and I'm going to get the big guy.
And he's like, and leave it to me to get Lincoln. He's such a loser.
I know. I'm so sorry about even saying he was hot, but
No, I mean, a lot of villains.
Both these things can be true.
A lot of villains are physically attractive.
Yeah.
It's just how it is.
It's just how it is.
So yeah, so we said that, okay, so he knows the floor plan, he knows everything. But okay, this is interesting. So access to the theater's upper floor containing the presidential box was restricted, which like, thank God, you guys.
Seriously, please.
But Booth was like, I just know in my heart I can get up there and be admitted there without difficulty.
Because he runs the shit. You know what's so crazy is like back then there might have been some people, I think a majority of people did know, but like what if they didn't know what the president looked like? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not like there's the news and just like pictures everywhere.
Yeah, that's
I mean, there was
true.
pictures of him.
But it wasn't like you're just like on Instagram, like looking at his everyday.
Exactly.
That's so interesting.
So he could like pass you by on the street and you might not be like, oh my God, that's the president.
That's true.
I mean, John knows what he looks like.
Did like everyone get a newspaper or was it just for like middle upper class that got newspapers?
I literally have no idea.
Because I'm like, was it like a...
Like I'm sure you could like look at one.
Yeah, no, that's true.
And someone would toss it.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not sure how much they were though.
I know. It is crazy. Okay, so let's talk about the timeline of the day. So Grant decides not to go to the theater with his wife Julia that night because Julia and Mary Lincoln were not on good terms.
Oh, really? There's some beef.
There's some beef, and this is why I asked you last night. I texted Claire, and I was like, who would these people be by their description? And Claire said that Mary Lincoln is Vicky Gunvalson on Real Housewives of OC, and Julia is, Giselle from Potomac.
Okay, and now explain why they are these ways.
Okay, so I got the tea. So apparently Julia thought that Mary was arrogant because she's like, oh, interesting. Like we used to kind of be friends. And now that you're first lady, I have to treat you like royalty. And Mary Lincoln was known for her dramatic outbursts and high expectations, which could make people feel uncomfortable.
But yeah, that's true.
And Julia was just like, you're so dramatic. It's always like a night with you. You know, it's like never like easy.
It's always just something.
It's always something. So she was like, I don't want to go to the play with them tonight. Wow. Leaving just Mary and Abe to go by themselves.
I mean, that saved their lives. Maybe.
Yeah, and
Saved
Lincoln's footman, his name was William H. Crook, advised him not to go. He was like, dude, like, this is a very high, tense time. Like, yeah, probably most of the people in this theater would, like, applaud you and you'd be welcomed with open arms in some way. But, like...
It's just not the time to be in public like this.
Probably not the time. And he was like, but Mary really wants to see this play, and I promised her that I'd go. Mary was a huge fan of the theater.
She loves theater kids. I would like to know more about Mary and Abe.
We could just do like an entire different episode on that.
Yeah, we'll dive in.
Yeah, we should.
We have to.
We should dive in. So this is not shocking. A lot of people blame Mary for the assassination, which is classic. It's like, it's a woman's fault.
Also, she's like grieving enough. Give her a break.
I know.
I'm sure she blames herself.
Truly. And so I know that we've talked about security and stuff. This is so interesting. This happened before the Secret Service was formed.
Yeah.
And it was formed 3 months after Lincoln's assassination.
Was it formed because of Lincoln's assassination?
It was. They were like, oh shit, we really have to like protect the president.
Oh yeah. This is a volatile job.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
So there's no Secret Service right now. Like right now there's like technically like he has like always someone that's like a bodyguard.
Right.
And when he's going out in public, like there's someone that's like armed that's protecting him, but it's not like they're
not enough.
No, and they're not like sweeping places before he goes.
Scoping out the places.
Is it sweeping?
I think both.
Oh, sweeping, scoping? Yeah, they're not doing that.
So crazy. Like, I actually be interesting to do an episode on the Secret Service and like what's implemented now.
I literally put in the notes, we need to do an episode on it.
Let's do it. Everyone remember that we said that because Michelle Obama, she was like, one of the things I'm most looking forward to after being the first lady is riding or driving with my windows rolled down. Because you can't do that as the president or the first lady of the first family.
Do you have Secret Service for life if you've been a president?
No.
You don't.
No, you
But do
have
they
to
pay
pay for it. You have to pay for it afterwards. Well, actually, that might not be true. I actually do think that you do have Secret Service for life.
I think you do.
I think you do.
And I think they do pay for it.
Yeah, you're right, you guys. I
But
take back everything I said.
I always get that mixed up.
yeah,
But yeah.
no, you do have Secret Service for life.
So expensive.
Do your kids?
But your kids
Your
don't.
kids don't, but you do.
But like for the Obamas, like they'll have it. But when their daughters were in college, they paid for some security. I
was
think,
at a bar
personally.
with the Obama girls.
That is oh my God, I remember that.
Yeah, and but their Secret Service, I think, was across the street or something like
Crazy.
that. Yeah, but it was after the presidency, but that was like actually one of the coolest sightings I've ever had in
I
LA.
mean, like what could be better?
Nothing.
Everyone watched First Daughter with Katie Holmes. I think it's on Netflix or Peacock right now.
I've actually never seen it. I
Oh,
know.
you would love it, and
I
you'll
need
love
to.
the man.
The man in it. Say no more. In there.
But anyway, so the presidential party of Lincoln and Mary, they arrived like 30 minutes late. They were like, all right, let's just like make an entrance. Let's be fashionably late. They settled into their box that was made from two adjoining boxes, and they removed the dividing partition. And the play was interrupted when they came in, obviously, because they were like, oh my God, the president and the first lady are here. And the orchestra played Hail to the Chief as the full house of about 1,700 rose in applause.
Oh.
I know. Lincoln sat in a rocking chair that had been selected for him among the Ford's family personal furnishings. And I said, there's nothing more vulnerable than a rocking chair. And that it just makes me want to cry thinking of him in that rocking chair.
Yeah, and you can't quite get your footing when you're in a rocking chair.
I actually like now
too.
get like seasick on a rocking chair.
Say no. You're speaking to the right person.
I was in
I get it.
I was in one the other day. Where was I? And I was just like, I feel dizzy after
Yeah.
like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Got that from my mother. Thank you. Thank you for that. So he's feeling vulnerable in this chair, and the cast modified a line of the play to honor Lincoln. So when the heroine asked for a seat protected from the draft, the reply was scripted as, well, you're not the only one who wants to escape the draft, was delivered as, the draft has already been stopped by order of the president. So they try to give him like, why do I have chills?
Oh, you know that actor was like,
I know, but it's
looking
just
at
like,
Lincoln,
I
too?
know they tried to be like, let's give him like
That
a
was
little,
for you, babe.
a little something, and like clap, clap. Thanks for helping us out. You know, I don't know why it makes me so sad.
Because it's so sad. It's like the most sad.
It's also just like when you hear about these stories, it's the same thing that we talk about, like Wicked, Titanic. Like you're like reading it, and you're like, maybe it will be different.
It should have gone so different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, why did it have to go this way? So people said that, or Mary Lincoln said that her husband's attention and like all, you know, what the actors were giving him, like he was very like, thank you. And he was like humbled by it and took like a lot of pleasure.
He was holding space for
He was
it.
holding space for them. At one point, Mary whispered to Lincoln, they were holding hands, what will Miss Harris think of my hanging on to you so? I don't know who Harris is and what she's saying. These are supposed to be the last words that they exchanged, in which Lincoln replied, she won't think anything about it. I was like, is she trying to make someone jealous in the audience?
Yeah. Who's Miss Harris?
Vicky Gunvalson, she would. But in following years, these words were traditionally considered his last, though a family friend claimed in 1882 that Mary Lincoln told him that Lincoln's last words expressed a wish to visit Jerusalem.
Oh, wow.
So maybe that was the last thing he said. So did he have any security in this box, you guys? Well, there was a policeman, John Frederick Parker, who was assigned to guard the presidential box. However,
Oh, no.
at intermission, he went to a bar.
Okay. Where to even begin?
I know.
What's his name?
John.
John.
Another John.
Well, the Johns have really failed us this episode.
Yeah. He's at a tavern getting drunk, along with Lincoln's valet, Charles Forbes, and his coachman, Francis Burke.
But there's just like no consequences back then.
They're just having several
I mean,
drinks.
there's the ultimate consequence of him going to drink, but
Truly, they're like, all right, we got him to the box. Like, we're going to go get a couple drinks. We'll come back at some point. But, like, everything's good. The audience loves him.
I mean, they probably did think that. Like,
Yeah.
everyone's in their place.
They were like, everyone rose for a standing ovation. Like, we're in D.C. It's like that thing of, like, we're in L.A., you know? Like,
Yes.
if we
We're
go
safe
somewhere
here.
wearing a Kamala shirt, like, I remember thinking that a lot. Like, who's going to... But then you realize
They're everywhere.
they're everywhere. So, they're pre-gaming. essentially. And so is little Johnny boy. Johnny's also at the tavern shooting them back and about to go.
Like getting liquid courage.
He's getting liquid courage. So he's been spending time at the tavern. John then enters Ford's Theater one last time around 10:10 p.m.
John Wilkes Booth.
John Wilkes Booth, yes. Booth. This time through the theater's front entrance. He passed through the dress circle and went to the door that led to the presidential box. After showing Charles Forbes his card. Like, he's like, hey, man, like, you know me. And he's like, yeah, go up.
I wonder if any of these people knew John Wilkes Booth's politics.
That's a great question. Because again, it's like this time he's in this like Confederate group, but that's almost what makes me want to say that his family was pretty like liberal.
Right.
So that like people trusted him more. And he kind of kept it like, I'm sure if he was in a Confederate group in Maryland, don't you think that would be like a little like undercover? Was Maryland like...
I don't know. Because Virginia was the headquarters, and Virginia and Maryland are not that far away from each other.
Yeah, that's true. Richmond, Virginia. Shout out to Alex and Adrian. They both went to University of Richmond. A great school.
Yeah.
Gorgeous like brick. But...
Gorgeous brick.
But yeah, I think people were almost like, your family's cool. Your brother's a very famous like unionist.
Right.
Which means that you probably are too.
Well, and again, like, who would ever think that he would come up and shoot someone?
Yeah, especially even if they're like, oh, he's like a little bit more conservative.
Yeah.
Like, but he's like an actor here. Oh, it's just so like sick.
It's so sick.
It's so sick that he like knew this place and ugh. So at 10:25 p.m., he's walking up and there's a witness that sees him. He goes past an usher who's like, you can go up to the box. So people are like allowing him there, which I don't know why. I'm like, this is so crazy. So he's inside the hallway and Booth barricaded the door by wedging a stick between it and the wall.
Okay.
From here, a second door led to Lincoln's box.
So he's locking themselves in?
Mm-hmm. Evidence shows that earlier in the day, Booth had bored a peephole in the second door to be like, I'm just checking where he is and like what my shot is. So he had been there and like already planned this all out. So Booth knew the play Our American Cousin and he waited to time the shot specifically so that there's like always laughter at one of the hilarious lines delivered by the actor Harry Hawk that says, well, I guess I know enough to turn you inside out, old gal, you sock-doggling old man
Give us your best line read of this line, Tess. Give it to us.
Okay. Well, I guess I know enough to turn you inside out, old gal, you sock-dogging old man trap. And Lincoln laughed at this line. And then when Booth opened the door, stepped forward and shot him behind in the head with his pistol. Sorry, guys, that was kind of confusing to like...
He wanted a laugh?
He wanted the laugh to be like... So the shot was during the laugh.
Did he not want people to hear him?
No, he did. But he wanted it... But he wanted people to hear what he says after, Claire.
Oh, God. What does he say?
So he says, what does he say? I thought I had it here. Oh, he says, freedom. What an idiot.
The way you just said that.
Yeah. Yeah, he says freedom.
So people hear the gunshot.
People hear the gunshot.
And it's directly back in the head.
So the bullet entered Lincoln's skull behind his left ear, passed through his brain, and came to rest near the front of the skull after fracturing both orbital plates. Lincoln slumped over in his chair, like he did like a slump, and then like fell backwards like this.
Oh my God.
I just hurt my neck a little bit. I'm like really in character.
Yeah.
There's like gun smoke, and then that's when Booth was like, freedom!
I feel so bad for Mary. That's horrific.
I know. What's the line that everyone says? That's supposed to be like, it's like, so what else did you think about the show, Mrs. Lincoln? What's that?
I don't know.
It's like my mom says it a lot. It's like, it's supposed to be like so besides like that awful thing that happened, like how you doing? So that's like
some levity to the situation.
Exactly. Yeah, so Mary is screaming. And Booth runs out. He like goes leaves the box, runs down the stairs, goes out the back entrance, and he had rented a horse. He had rented a horse to get away. So like the horse was waiting for him. And there was a man who was working at the theater that was like by that door. And he was like, what's going on? And like he was like trying really quickly to like get the horse
ready for him.
And this man was like, something not good has just happened. So he is gone. He is fleeing. He's riding this horse to God knows where. And I did not know that Lincoln did not die right away.
Oh, no.
Not right away at all.
So is he conscious?
He's not exactly conscious, but he's
alive.
Like hemorrhaging, I feel.
Oh, my God.
So his team decided, I mean, God, like at the bar, just like, huh? Like, you got.
Where were you?
Imagine the guilt.
Well, you should live with that.
I mean, guard the goddamn box.
Stop drinking.
Like literally.
God.
Drink after the show. Mm-hmm. So his team decided that Lincoln should be moved to the nearest house, which is on 10th Street, like a safe house, I think, sort of thing. Because they were like, God, if we get into a carriage and have to go all the way back to the White House, there are so many possibilities of like more danger. Because I think at this point they're like, he's not dead yet. We're going to call a doctor.
See what we can do.
There's maybe a chance to save him.
Baby, there is no plane.
Baby, there is no plane. Like, you know, you're getting shot with a pistol
in the head,
in the back of your skull.
Yeah.
So they're back. They're at this house, and doctors come pretty quickly, and all of them are literally like, he will not survive this. They're like probing the wound. They locate the bullet, and I guess they like take the bullet out. Oof. And throughout the night, he's hemorrhaging. They're removing blood clots to relieve pressure on the brain. They said that like all of them were like holding his hand. Like people were coming in to like hold his hand the whole time and trying to like calm him down. Because I think he was still like, I mean, he's taking like,
oh my God,
really
poor man,
difficult breaths. One of his friends came in and said that he kept holding his hand with a firm grip to let him know that he was in touch with humanity and had a friend. Is that sad?
This is awful. I really thought that he just died.
I did too.
Oh my God.
They cleared out Mary, who was obviously hysterical. Lincoln's older son, Robert Todd Lincoln, arrived around 11 p.m., but their 12-year-old Tad Lincoln, who was watching a play of Aladdin at the time at Grover's Theater, who did learn about his dad's assassination, he was kept away, but the older brother was like, let me come in, let me try to be like a strong figure.
Because he's the man of the house now.
Exactly. As he neared his death, Lincoln's appearance became perfectly natural, except for the discoloration around his eyes, this said.
Well, they've already been talking about his discoloration.
Yeah, they're like, it's just getting worse.
So what's new?
It's just getting worse.
Wow, you are so pale.
Yeah, they're like, oh my God, sorry to say this like right now, but your color. You could use a little Saint-Tropez.
You could always use some Saint-Tropez.
Shortly, so this goes on all night. Like, so shortly before 7 a.m., Mary was finally allowed back in. The doctors were like, you can come and say goodbye. So she returned to his side. She seated herself by the president, kissing him and calling him every endearing name. And Lincoln died at 7:22 a.m. on April 15th.
How old was he? Do you know?
I think he was in his like 60s.
Oh, wow. And he's a 12-year-old?
I think so, right?
It doesn't really matter.
I actually don't know.
It's hard to say because people look so much older back then.
I know. I'm actually very curious. Let's see. Doing some live journalism. Lincoln, age when he died, 56.
56. Wow.
So he is dead. And the country is like, what the fuck?
Yeah. No, actually, what the fuck?
Like, we went from celebrating on the streets to, after 4 years of this war, I mean, obviously I'm speaking of like how I would feel as someone that supported him, but you're just like, now was that all for nothing?
Well, and also how scary being someone who has just recently been granted their freedom and then has seen what has happened to this man now.
Oh my, I mean, that it makes me so upset, like, to think about. It's just so heartbreaking and so terrifying. So he was mourned in both the North and the South and around the world. Yeah. I mean, he was like pretty beloved.
Yeah.
You know, obviously with the exception of some people that did not believe in what he believed in.
Yeah, but who cares what they think?
Like, literally. And so what happens now, people are like, who the hell did this to our boy.
Yeah.
So there is a quick hunt that quickly became the largest at this time in U.S. history, involving thousands of federal troops and countless civilians. Like, I mean, people were like, I'm going to go out and like with like my bros.
Vigilante.
And go find who did this. They authorized awards of, do you want to guess how much that they were like, if you find Booth, how much we're going to give you at this time? I was actually kind of shocked by it.
100,000?
It's 100,000 today.
What? 100,000 today?
100,000 today. 50,000 back then. 100,000 today.
Wow.
Which I was like, is that not a lot?
Not
is it?
enough. This man just killed the president.
How much do you think it would be today? But they wouldn't like be like civilians go find him. But they would try. They would try.
Yeah, people would try anyways.
Truly.
God, I don't know. 100 million?
Yeah, like it just seems like a little bit low.
Yeah, I agree.
So Booth has been bopping around. People are like, as he had told so many people about this and he had so many like Confederate friends.
Yeah.
And they were all like, okay, so you're going to come to our house here. We're going to like, make you a bed. You can sleep there. And then the next day, so he's literally just bopping around to all these houses of people like taking care of him.
Just like living large.
Exactly. Which is just like gross.
Yeah.
So he gets to a farm like weeks. So his death happened on
April
15th.
Something like that.
So on April 26th, he's been at like countless homes. Him and remember his friend Harold, little David Harold, who's shy and doesn't really talk much. They both meet up because that was the plan. They're like, then we're going to like rendezvous.
Oh, right. Yes.
And they get to this farm where they're hiding out, and somehow, I think a little like word of mouth, soldiers from the 16th New York Cavalry arrived and literally like barged into this barn. I don't know if like I don't think anyone had told them. I think they were like following tracks.
Them off
Who knows? I couldn't really find like how they found, but they did find them. They surrounded the barn and threatened to set fire for it. They're like, dude, we know you're in there. We're going to fucking light this thing on fire if you don't come out. And Booth cried out, I will not be taken alive. So the soldiers are like,
say less.
Set fire.
Yeah.
So then he's like, oh shit. So then he scrambled to the back door for a rifle and a pistol. However, Sergeant Boston Corbett crept up behind the barn and shot Booth in the back of the head. Sing it.
Karma is my boyfriend. Karma is a god. Yeah, love that.
The back of the head about an inch below the spot where he had shot President Lincoln, severing his spinal cord. So Booth was carried out on the steps of the barn. A soldier like poured water into his mouth, which he spat it out, unable to swallow. Booth told the soldier, tell my mother I die for my country.
If I was a soldier, I'd be like, I won't.
Yeah, no. And just like shut his eyes, close his eyes. He asked a soldier to lift his hand before his face and whispered his last words as he gazed at them. Useless. Useless.
His hands? Mm-hmm. Whatever.
He died on the porch of that farm 3 hours later. And yeah, so he's dead.
Ding dong.
Ding dong. And remember all of his like co-conspirators and all those people?
Yeah.
So that included like David and Lewis and all the people that were part of the killing crew, plus the mom who wanted to have sex with him. They were all executed by hanging on July 7th, 1865.
Okay, did we talk about this? Or maybe I talked about it with my mom. That doing the history of the death sentence, I think, would be so interesting.
That would be so interesting because, like,
so dark, but so interesting.
Always, it does make me laugh how that's like the first thing that we learn about in like third grade. And they're like, tell us your feelings. And you're like 8 and you're like, I don't know.
And they're like, and why?
Yeah. And you're like,
yeah. And you're supposed to make that decision.
It's so crazy.
We should do it.
We should. Cause I'm still like, where I still like don't know like
where it's allowed and where it's not allowed. Yeah.
Because it also used to be different. Like obviously like now it's from what's it called?
The injecting thing.
Yeah.
But is electric chair still allowed?
That's why I think it might be in a couple states.
I think it might be too.
And so obviously like at this point it was hanging.
Yeah.
Then I think it was back in the day it was your head was chopped off.
The guillotine.
The guillotine.
And then like a firing squad. That may still be too. It's so inhumane. It's crazy.
It really is insane. So they're all dead. And then after, so Lincoln's dead too, obviously. And then what happens when a president dies, who becomes the president next if there's an assassination?
Was it the vice president yet?
It's the vice
Because
president.
remember, didn't Ben say it didn't always used to be like
I
the
think
vice president was the next in line?
I think that may have ended like, let's see, he was the 16th president. I don't know when that ended,
But this time.
so now Vice President Andrew Johnson, who was VP, proceeded to be president, and he was like, all right, we got to get to work. They're like, we need to do this when Congress is not in session yet. By the time Congress met in December of that year, most southern states were reconstructed. It said slavery was being abolished, but black codes to regulate the freed men were beginning to appear. So radical Republicans in Congress moved very vigorously to change Johnson's program. They gained the support of Northerners who were dismayed to see Southerners keeping many pre-war leaders and imposing many pre-war restrictions upon black people.
It's basically being like, yeah, we know this happened, but we don't care.
Exactly.
It's also hard to inflict rules when people are so far. That's like why Juneteenth,
Yes.
it's because it took a while to get the news across.
Exactly. Yeah, that is so true. The radicals.
What is that sentence that I just
No,
said?
I totally understand what you mean. I totally did.
Well, we have our own language where we don't have to speak in complete sentences. It's a toddler talking and the parent translating.
Literally.
And no one else can understand but the parent.
And that's why you guys listen to us.
Exactly.
It is a language. So the radicals' first step was to refuse to seat any senator or representative from the old Confederacy. Mm-hmm. And then next, they passed measures dealing with former slaves. Johnson vetoed the legislation because the radicals mustered enough votes in Congress to pass legislation over his veto, the first time that Congress had overridden a president on an important bill. Yeah.
Wait, is Johnson the one that Ben was talking about was not a good guy?
That's Jackson.
Okay.
That's Andrew
God.
Jackson, who was terrible.
There's so many things to keep up with.
God, there's so many Johns, there's so many Andrews.
I wonder if we'll cover every single president one day on RAM.
Would we want to is the question.
No.
I'd want to do like 3, 4.
It'd be fascinating.
That's true. Maybe if there were just like more interesting presidents and more diversity.
What do you think of when I say Taft?
Taft. What's his face?
The bathtub? Do you think of a bathtub?
No.
Poor Taft. I've always thought about a bathtub. Apparently with Taft, he couldn't fit in his bathtub. And that's a real fucking legacy.
That is, wow, that's a real fucking legacy.
I digress.
So they passed the Civil Rights Act of 1866, which established black people as American citizens and forbade discrimination against them. A few months later, Congress submitted to the states the 14th Amendment, which specified that no state should deprive any person of life, liberty, property without due process of law. But then, of course, people were like, no, like Tennessee's like, I hate this. There's a lot of bloody race riots in the South. And in March of 1867, the radicals effected their own plan of reconstruction, again, placing southern states under military rule.
Oh, wow.
They passed laws placing restrictions upon the president. When Johnson allegedly violated one of these, he was tried and impeached. But before he was impeached, he died.
Oh, wow. God, there is so much happening.
Yeah. And guys, I don't mean to like rush through the end, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of what happened after Lincoln died. So yeah, that's really what happened. And I would like to end.
That's really what happened.
That's really what happened. We're going to wrap this up. I'd like to end with a quote. And this is actually what made me want to watch this tweet. Does that not tweet anymore?
I'm not saying the other one.
We're going to say tweet.
Yeah.
Kyle, his name is Kyle Alex Brett. He's amazing. He's a dear friend. And he tweeted this about watching the show Manhunt on Apple TV. He said, Manhunt on Apple TV is about the man who shot Lincoln. But the idea at the center is fascinating to me. In a war, if one side surrenders to the other side, but 5 days later, someone from that first side assassinates the head of the second side, did that war ever end? I really think you can summarize the entire idea of America by just saying that the Civil War never really ended.
Whoa, Kyle.
Damn. And that is the assassination of Abraham Lincoln.
Whoa. Why is that quote not getting more like attention.
It does have a lot of it's gotten attention on. He's an amazing writer. He's very like intro.
I never even thought about it in that way.
The Civil War has never ended.
Wow.
And like think about like where
because our country was built on so much evil.
Exactly. And like this country is based on everything is based on racism in this country and taking from people.
Wow.
And think about what we've done to indigenous people. Like everything is about white people taking and taking.
Yeah.
And like we still see that so clearly today.
Wow. My God. Well done, Tess.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
I really am. And I want this to be like encouraging to you that like you thrive in history and like the classical history. God. Well done, Tess.
Thank you so much. I hope you guys enjoyed that. You can follow us at Right Answers Mostly. We'll post pictures and carousel. Follow us on TikTok. This episode will be up on YouTube if you want to watch us live. Join our premium.
Which is in the show notes. Give us a review, please.
Yeah, we haven't gotten a review for a few weeks.
A nice review. If you have constructive criticism, DM us. If you have nice things to say, write a review.
We promise we will respond to the constructive criticism. We will take it into consideration.
That's right. And share on your socials. And have a great day. Talk to someone about Ram today.
Please do. We'd love.
Yeah.
Thanks,
have a great
guys.
one.
Bye-bye.